introverts of the world, my name is Cody Wolf, and welcome back to Character Introductions, the Wastes Edition. We're going to be dedicating this episode to my favorite character, Warren Birch, a big, beefy pig boy who I absolutely adore because I think he's really interesting to write. But we'll get to him later. Now, I like to talk about these characters' origins, what their original designs were, what they were going to originally be written as in the Wastes, and I think Warren is probably the most interesting of these characters with like a beta designs, as I'm going to call it. He originally started as an Owl House OC, interestingly enough, considering the Waste has a lot of inspiration taken from the Owl House. His original name was Hogston, and he was involved in the Construction Coven because I thought having a pig in the Construction Coven was funny because of the three little pigs. I'm clever. I primarily made him because at the time I was super obsessed with the Technoblade Dream SMP designs. I was never a fan of the Dream SMP, I still am not to this day, but I really did think a lot of the Technoblade designs were cool, and I wanted to design one myself, but I wasn't involved with the Dream SMP, and I didn't want to get involved, so I just took the Hoglin-inspired designs and made them into an OC. After a while of not using Warren, I slowly forgot about his design. Not completely. I still definitely thought it was a good design, and I wanted to use it again, but I wasn't really into making Owl House OC content, funnily enough, so I just slowly stopped drawing him. Until I moved on to another story. That's right, I had a story involving Warren before the Wastes, and it had a similar concept. I say similar concept. It's more a similar, like a genre. It was a sci-fi fantasy story that I affectionately called Portal Hoppers. The basic premise was there was this kid from a dimension that was destroyed, and he found Warren and another character, and Warren was an portal guardian, which were these people who, basically like soldiers who went to different dimensions to stop, infighting within the dimensions and, outer dimensional wars, or assisted other dimensions in, the wars they were fighting in. And Warren was a part of that before some edgy stuff happened, and he decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to retire. And he did until the kid came around, and he was like, okay, yeah, I'll help out this kid. I'll help him find out what happened to his dimension, because the main character didn't know what happened. But yeah, long story short, he was used in Portal Hoppers for a very similar role he has in the Wastes, and then Portal Hoppers got dropped. I say dropped, I just lost interest in working on it because I actually don't know why I stopped working on it. I had a good idea of what I wanted the story to be. Nothing just ever came from it, and I guess that's just what happens with projects. You lose interest in working on them, and it's really no one's fault. It's just how your brain works. It moves from one thing it likes to the other, and my brain just ended up moving from Portal Hoppers to probably another piece of media that I hyperfixated on. However, when I started working on the Wastes, I remembered Warren's design and his role, and I was like, hey, I really liked this guy's design. I'm gonna incorporate him into the Wastes, and now he's in it. So, for the redesign, I wanted to incorporate both versions of the design. The first one I had made for the Wastes Warren, and then the second one that I had recently made. I also wanted to incorporate the jacket from the second one, but it gave me some trouble because, much like the jacket in the second one, I feel it covered up a lot of Warren's scars, and I wanted to show them off. I wanted to show off his scars, so I made two different kind of little versions, one where he has the jacket on and the other where he doesn't. And, what else? I didn't hate the previous designs. I actually quite liked the first one, but I felt it was too plain, and then I added a little bit too much to the second one. So a primary reason I wanted to combine those two was so I could just, hopefully they even out, and personally I think it really ended up working well. A new element that I added to this design and wasn't in the previous ones was a little necklace that I like to think Iris made for him when she was really young, and he's just been wearing it ever since. I think it's really cute, and it's a good little design detail to show, hey, he's a doofus. He's a doofus who wears whatever his kids will make for him, and he has no shame. And again, I thought it was cute, so that's why I added it. A design aspect of Warren that was always prevalent when I was, incorporating him into his story is that I always made him mute. I don't know why I did this. I think it was because I never really drew him a mouth. It was always kind of like implied that his mouth was underneath his snoot. I just never really highlighted it. So I guess with that, I always pictured he would talk in grunts. And I've decided to make that lore. Warren is known as a boar, and boars tend to kind of live on the outer edge of the wastes in little farming communities. Boars tend to be mute. Any who can talk only talk in very short sentences, and their voices tend to be very raspy and just gruff. They're very blunt with their speeches. Warren is a carpenter, which is funny considering how barren the wastelands are of trees, but he manages to find a way. He signs everything he makes, and I'm just gonna put Iris's gloves on the screen. No particular reason, just gonna put them on the screen in case anyone, wants to remember she has gloves or wants to look at any details that they probably didn't notice before. And they're gone now. Okay. He, along with, carving chairs and little statues, he also makes his own weapons. And he also signs those, because of course he does. He's a dork, and I love that about him. But yes, he makes his own weapons because King Zorus, the guy who basically runs the waste, he has his own, little enterprise of magical-induced weapons. And, Warren doesn't trust them. He doesn't really trust the artificial magic that Zorus makes. Magic is, I want to say, an interesting thing in this world. It's kind of like fossil fuels. It's a non-renewable resource, and very few creatures have magic. And even if they do, it's more like infused into their blood, which allows them to just constantly use it. But creatures with magic are very hard to come by, and any that do are technically under the protection of Zorus, so not really anything anyone can do about it. As I mentioned in the Sawyer video, Warren is trans. More specifically, he is a pre-op trans guy, as I feel there's, not enough pre-operation transition rep. Because I feel like there isn't. There definitely isn't enough representation for trans people who don't want to go through with transitioning, who are fine with their body and don't feel a need to change it at all, and are just happy with identifying as a different gender. And Warren is very much that way. He's like, I know I'm a guy, so I don't need to do anything to myself to prove it. I say I'm a guy, so I'm a guy. And yeah. Essentially, that's that. He's also gay, and was with another character that we're gonna talk about in, a couple videos from now. But, can't say much about him, because I'm saving all of that for that character's video. So really all you need to know is that he was in a relationship with one of the characters. They broke up, and Warren is a little hesitant around them now. They weren't bad to Warren, and they didn't, hurt him or anything, but the breakup definitely was a messy one, so now he's a little hesitant around them, and very, cautious. Now, time to tap into why I love this pig dad so much, and the reason for that is because while writing him, I ended up really liking how I translated his character. He went from just a dad to an actually developed character, believe it or not. He has struggles, he has worries and insecurities, and a lot of the reasons on why he took in Sawyer and Iris are just tied to his own experiences with parents and how he was raised. Warren's backstory is a bit of a spoiler. It's nothing too deep or story related. It's just more Warren related, but it is a spoiler, so I can't give the intricate details to how Warren's upbringing was. But just know that I really like parents who derive their own parenting techniques as a way of not making the same mistakes that their parents did. And a lot of, while writing Warren, was inspired by Camilla Noceda from the Owl House. A lot of characters in this are actually inspired by the Owl House. I began working on The Wastes again when Thanks to Them aired, and Camilla quickly weaved her way into becoming my second favorite character in the entire show, solely because of her dream sequence in Thanks to Them. It was such a really great and artistic way of showing, like, Camilla, just how she raised Luz, how she went about raising Luz, and why she ended up making the decisions that she did. And I would really like to have a scene with Warren in that similar way, showing the decisions that he made and what led him to make those decisions. I definitely would eventually like to make a scene where it's shown how he found Iris, and it's in a similar way to that, where he sees a bit of himself in the kid. Even in Sawyer, he sees a little bit of himself in Sawyer, which can already say a lot about Warren. But that's primarily why I like him so much. He's just fun for me to write. He's fun for me to develop in this interesting way. And I love him. I love him for that. And that's gonna do it for Warren's introduction. Because he doesn't have a voice, he technically doesn't need a voice claim portion of the video. So that is going to cover it for this waste video. Apologies that this took so long. Things have just been nuts lately, so yeah, I'm gonna try to get the next part out. We'll be getting more into the Zorus side of the characters, so I'm very excited to talk about that. And yeah, I'm Cody Wolf, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Bye-bye!